So to start the developer menu in the screen, you have to come to this Excel options that is available from this file option, this menu. From here you have to click on Excel options. So from this Excel option you have to go to the Trust Center. In this Trust Center you have to create here this Microsoft Excel Trust Center. So Trust Center settings, you have to, in macro settings, you have to enable all macros and you have to trust access to the VBA project object model. These two we need to enable it. Once this is enabled, you get the developers menu first. Once you get the developers menu, then there is a possibility that this record macro is disabled. This might not be enabled. If you have not got enabled this, you need to go here, again Excel options, you have to choose the add-in. You have to choose the add-in here. In this add-in, you have to select VB Analyst Toolpack VBA. Once you select that, you have to go and then choose that particular appropriate add-ins. So you choose this. If you choose this and then click OK, it will install predefined installer. It will install here. You have at the time you have to have a Excel installer available in your pen drive or in your CD. Once that is there, once you install it, then if you come back to the Excel sheet, you can see that record macro is opened up. So yesterday what we were doing is, we were talking about the macros, recording of macros and seeing the macro through this. So I'll now go to the Visual Basic. Today we will try to write, this is what we have seen on the day one. Right, we just created some macros. We created this macro and then we have executed this macro. So this is range. You can give a range, you can select and then you can type in the value. So select, then formula R1C1, formula R1C1, it will, you can even give a formula here. So you can see that the formula is typed here. You can also put active cell dot value. Active cell dot value will also be, is also allowed. Both are allowed. Now today I like to create some custom classes here. I'll create some custom classes which we are familiar with first thing. So I'll go to this workbook. In this workbook I try to put I'm trying to put a subroutine, right? Sub upper class. I'm trying to convert whatever the value I'm typing here, I want to convert it into upper class, right? Upper class, I'll give it as my class name. So upper class n sub. I'm going now typing a code over here. For this, very important, you should have a MS Excel object reference. You should have that MS Excel object reference as your, to know all the commands that Excel sheet support, right? So if you have those objects, then it becomes very easy to manage. So right now I am doing upper class. So for each, I say x n. This is a for each command. I hope you know in Visual Basic this command is useful. In case if you don't know the Visual Basic, you send us a mail to Bharadwaj or Subramanian. They will give you some video links which will enable you to go through the Visual Basic, how to write a Visual Basic program. Because what we are doing is a Visual Basic here. Right? All the recorded webinar are available. You can open up and then use those recorded webinar. Send a mail to our respective people so that you can access the recorded webinar. So for each x in range, I now declare it as A1 to say C10. Up to this range, whatever the value that I type, what do you want to do for that? For next is the sequence. So for has to be ended with next. So what do you want to do? X dot value equals, right, U case of uppercase, U case of, I say x dot value. What I'm trying to do is, I'm converting whatever the value that I type in this range, A1 to C10, I like to convert that into uppercase. Whenever I run this macro will make you to change the value. Please note, all these commands, these are all basically comes from the object reference model of Excel sheet. So you should be aware of that. So Excel.application is the object reference. So we are not into that right now. If you feel that we need to take it, you send it as a request. We'll have a separate session for a VB on Excel sheet. So there we can take about object model, etc. So that's again a complete programming, that is. So it may not be interesting to all the people who are attending the session now, because a lot of non-technical people are available. So now I'm just putting x dot value equal to U case of x dot value. I want to make all this lower class, sub lowercase, right? Uppercase I'll put, lowercase I'll put, uppercase, lowercase. Again I say for each x in range A1 to say K10, any range I can give here because I am typing it here. Next is the end statement. For next, this is all the syntaxes. So then x dot value, these are all called functions. I am creating a functions for uppercase, for lowercase. So L case string x dot value. Right? What I am trying to do is, whatever the value I type in this range, so whenever I expected list, okay. So whatever I type in x dot value, x is nothing but in this range, for each of the range it will go through a loop. For each of the range item it will go through a loop. So when I run this macro, in this A1 to C10, so 3 columns, 10 rows, so 30 iterations it will go through, and whatever the value inside that each of the column, it will change into uppercase. So let us save this. I saved this file. I saved this file as something. Say I'll make it as, I'll put it inside your webinar class. Webinar advanced Excel. I'll put here macro.xls.xls. Right? I can save it as enabled Excel enabled macro as well. Excel enabled macro enabled workbook, I can save it as that. Save it. Now the VB scripting we have done. We have done it for this workbook. That means it is applicable for each of the sheet that we are trying to do. Right? I say close this. I now come here. Right? I come here and put something, whatever I want to type, say A10 or ABC or CDE, DEF, FGH, HKL, so up to C10. So C10, ABC here, ACP, right? I have this like this now. What I just have to do is, I don't have to now apply any formula to this to change it to uppercase. I just have to click on macro, click on this workbook uppercase, this workbook lowercase. So I click on uppercase, run this macro. That's it. So I click on uppercase, run this macro. You can see now all these letters are changed to uppercase. Just I run the macro, he automatically does the job. I click on macro, I select lowercase, run it. Right? There is one more called proper, equal to proper. Right? I am using this command only. So proper, what it means is, it will make that value proper, but it is not a VB command. Proper is not a VB command, it's an Excel command. So when I'm not using a VB command, I have to be very careful, right? So this details of how to apply, when to apply, these details are available in Microsoft Excel application, right? It is not available as such. You have to go through the object model reference of Excel sheet. So now I'll come back. I'll go back to this Visual Basic. I'll now select this workbook. This is where I have written now. So I now like to put, right? I'm just trying. I don't remember now. I'll just say proper, right? So for each x in range, say A1 to, it is not case sensitive, so I can put it even in small letters. For means always it has to be supported with next. Application dot, yes, application dot active cell, right? Active cell, application dot active cell dot select, right? Application dot active cell equals, right? Active cell dot proper. I'm not sure whether it will work over here. No. Active cell range is nothing but x equals, right? So application dot, these are all called IntelliSense. So I'm using the IntelliSense range, active cell x, proper range x, proper. I'm not sure of this because the proper is not the command of I doubt over here. I think it will give an error. So proper, I completely blanked out. Okay, fine. I'll come to know, I'll send it across in the mail on this command. I'll update this file and then send it across to you. That is much better. So I can apply, what I am trying to say is how to apply a Excel commands. These are all VB commands. So I can put it like this: x dot value, UK is x dot value, it is allowed. Whereas when we are doing an Excel command, so I need to be careful on how I am typing the value. So here I can say here dot value equal to, I say here Madhu, right? I can put it like this, that is allowed, right? So I am just putting it as over here. Then next, so all cell will replace with this new value. That is possible, right? So Control Fs, I just put it over here. Now if I just go to macro, so I have a proper here. If I run this macro after selecting a proper, right, it will give a 400 error because there is a problem with our data that we are giving. So that is a problem. So because of that you are getting an error. It's a Visual Basic error. I'll try to open up if possible. If it opens up the object model, it is good. No, it is going somewhere else. Excel object model. This is where we want actually. This is an application object, right? This is the application object. Application object is the first thing that we want to do when we are trying to do it with the Excel sheet. So application object, methods, properties. So I go to first is methods. So these are all the available methods that is available in the Excel sheet object, right? So it's a highly technical, so I don't want to get it into this because it is not meant for non-technical people. It will confuse them unnecessarily, right? Properties, these are all the properties. Active cell property, so add-ins property. So this active cell is what we are trying to use, right? So application dot active window dot active cell. So application dot active cell. So these are all some of the examples they have given as well. So I want to change the font. So with active cell dot font dot bold equal to true, dot italic equal to true, that means it will change the font value. So like this there are a lot of properties available for you to change, right? Active window property. So this is my active window property. So message box, this window name is message box, is a VB command. So it is purely use the actual VB scripting, right? Application not window, which is the application that you want to open up, because I have multiple Excel sheet opened in my screen. So which screen I have to bring it to the front. So I am saying this Windows book1.xls to activate. So this is the screen that I like to bring it up front. So there are a lot of things that we can do using this application model, right? So but it is a different subject because I don't want to get into the VB scripting part of it. So we'll see it as a separate class. So those areas. So right now in macro you can code anything that you like to code, right? So main thing is you can code whatever you would like to do it. So these are all some of the macro objects that is available with us. This range object is what we were using actually. Application count property, item property, so index, range objects, right? So this particular, whatever we have now, this particular, okay, I just go back to the Visual Basic. This particular range, when I select the proper, he is not able to put the value here, right? So range active cell dot, so if I just remove this over here and then I run this, right? I run this again, I'm just changing it and then running it again. Macro proper run. So you can now see it has just changed that Madhu, because this is where I have selected the cell. It has not gone through the loop, right? I can also put a breakpoint to go into step into. So I can also step into each step I can run through. Debugging is also available, F8. So step by step I can go F8. So application dot active cell, yes. Application active cell equal to Madhu, yes. because here I have not used X, right? Application here, and then it is only doing the same thing. So the X value we are not using. Because we are not using the X value, he has gone through the loop, all the loop area, but he is not able to change the data. This is called debugging. Please show